A new Aaron and Gabriel spin-off is confirmed, and now for the past day or two there's been news on Twitter and just like a lot of rumors popping up that an Aaron and Gabriel spin-off is confirmed, and it's going to be shot in Canada. So in today's video I'm just going to be giving my theories and speculation about this spin-off, what this could be about, where is it going to be in the timeline, and if it's going to happen in general. So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I've been gone for about more than 2 weeks, and the explanation for that is that there were some family responsibilities that I had to attend to, so that's why I wasn't able to upload any videos recently. So yeah, I'm sorry if I've been late to a lot of news, right? I know I've been looking on Twitter and TikTok, and there's been a lot of news that I missed out on, so you guys could expect more news about the Walking Dead universe coming from this channel. And also, I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. And now please take this with a grain of salt, right? We didn't get any confirmation whatsoever from Scott Gimple himself, or the official AMC Twitter, or the official Walking Dead Twitter, right? As of right now, it's just a rumor, but it seems very credible. And now this spin-off is being called The Walking Dead Bushlands, and that's obviously a placeholder, just like how Raise the Dead was a placeholder for Daryl Dixon. And now apparently this spin-off is going to be an Aaron and Gabriel focused spin-off, and that's been rumored for so long, ever since the finale of season 11, and it seems like it's the most obvious step to take, right? I mean, Aaron and Gabriel, when it comes to secondary characters, are very popular, right? You might as well call them a part of the main cast, right? Part of the A-listers, with Maggie, Negan, Daryl, Carol, and Rick and Michonne, right? So Aaron and Gabriel fit that category of very popular fan favorite characters. And now apparently this spin-off is going to be shot here in Canada, and it's going to be shooting later this year, and we don't know what time this spin-off is going to be shot. But if I were to guess, it's probably going to be after Dead City Season 2 premieres, or after it finishes, right? I mean, there have been rumors that it's already been in pre-production in Australia, right? So some sources are saying that it's going to be shot in Canada, and some sources are saying that it's already being shot in Australia, right? So maybe half of the show is going to be in Australia, half of the show is going to be in Canada. Who knows? But apparently it's in the works, right? And this is one of 4 spin-offs that Scott Gimple is working on, and he did tease it last year, right? He did tease that they are working on something that's in another part of the world. So of course this probably means that this show is going to be taking place in Australia, and of course it being called The Walking Dead Bushlands, it's very obvious that it's taking place in Australia, right? And maybe it's going to be something like Daryl Dixon, where in the start of the show, Aaron and Gabriel, they start their journey from Canada and they make their way to Australia. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but you know, if Daryl could go to France, then I'm pretty sure that Aaron and Gabriel could find their way to Australia. And now, when is this going to be announced? I'm pretty sure that this is going to be announced during Comic-Con, right? And if they already started pre-production in Australia, and if they start production sometime soon, I think that they're going to make a teaser, right? And probably get some posters here and there and make a very hype announcement for Comic-Con, right? And I think that that's one way to get fan excitement through the roof, is that if they actually have a trailer in place to show, and you know, to make the release a bit closer to its trailer, right? Because again, The Ones Who Live had a trailer, and then the show came out sometime later, and of course hype dies down during that time. So you know, if they keep it alive, if they have some teasers here and there, and if they really do ramp up on the marketing, I think that this could be a very successful spin-off. And now the biggest question here is that where is this going to be taking place in the Walking Dead timeline, right? Because Gabriel did have a cameo in The Ones Who Live, and that was of course after the finale of season 11 of The Walking Dead. And so if you have Rick and Michonne coming back to the Commonwealth, and of course you got to keep in mind that they didn't show any scenes of the Commonwealth, right? They didn't show any other characters but Judith and RJ in that final scene of The Ones Who Live. So this could definitely take place in the middle of The Ones Who Live, or it could take place after the finale of The Ones Who Live. And the motive of going to Australia, I honestly don't know, right? And if they want to have some Commonwealth scenes in here, I think that Rick Grimes could very well show up in this show, right? And there have been a lot of rumors, right, throughout the past couple of months that Rick is going to show up in one spinoff in the Walking Dead universe. And a lot of people are assuming that it's Dead City, but it could mean that Rick is showing up in the Walking Dead Bushlands, right? And I think that that makes more sense, right? If you have this spinoff take place after the finale of The Ones Who Live, and then Rick could very well show up in the first episode, right? He could have a little cameo. You could show a small reunion between Rick, Gabriel, Aaron, Ezekiel, and Mercer, right? And of course, Rick meeting Mercer for the first time, and then Aaron and Gabriel, they leave the Commonwealth to do something and basically entrust Rick with the Commonwealth. And now another big question is that why are Aaron and Gabriel going to Australia? Now, Daryl going to France was a very obvious motive, right? I mean, he was looking for Rick and then he wound up in France. But Aaron and Gabriel going to Australia does not make any sense. And now if you go by, my theory of the Walking Dead timeline, right? If this show takes place after The Ones Who Live, and then, Gabriel can't be looking for Jadis, right? And I think that if this takes place before the finale of The Ones Who Live, then maybe the basis of the show could be that Gabriel is looking for Jadis. But yet again, it's just a waste, right? Because we already know that Jadis is dead, so there's no point of watching the spin-off, right? And there's honestly no point of Gabriel going to Australia to look for Jadis, right? And I know that a lot of you are thinking that why would Gabriel go to Australia to look for Jadis? I mean, Daryl wound up in France looking for Rick, so they could just go for the whole same story there, but I don't think that he's looking for Jadis, right? There's probably some other reason why they end up in Australia, right? And honestly, I don't know what to assume here, right? Because Australia is a place where the Walking Dead universe hasn't really been, right? I mean, France, right? You could really make the correlation with Spain, and in the Walking Dead comics, they touched upon Spain, right, with Rick's brother, and New York, right, that was in the United States, so of course it wasn't really far off that Negan and Maggie would end up there. But Australia, right, that's the other side of the world, right? So we don't know why Aaron and Gabriel end up in Australia, right? Maybe this could be a follow-up to Gabriel's flashback scenes in The Ones Who Live, right? And as we all know, Gabriel was meeting with Jadis in private in The Ones Who Live, and his final scene in that show was that he was waiting for Jadis and she wasn't there, and there was some sort of smoke that was in the distance, right? And it seemed very mysterious, and a lot of people were saying that that was probably Alexandria or that was the Commonwealth. But my assumption here is that Gabriel probably came across a helicopter, right? Probably the CRM took him and they kind of transported him to Australia, right? And this could be in the same vein as Daryl Dixon, right? Maybe Gabriel gets kidnapped, and then in the start of this new spin-off, we see Rick and Michonne returning to the Commonwealth, and then the rest of the people of the Commonwealth don't know where did Gabriel go. That's where Aaron would follow the trails, look for the clues, and he would end up in Australia looking for Gabriel. And to be honest, I mean, that's something that they could definitely go with, but I think it's kind of lazy, right? Because I think like all three of the spin-offs have had this story one way or another, right? For example, with Daryl Dixon, right? I mean, Daryl went to France because he was looking for Rick, right? He got kidnapped and then he wound up in France, and then season 2 was Carol looking for Daryl. And in Dead City, Negan and Maggie, they run into each other and they end up in New York, right? I mean, of course, the story isn't about Negan looking for Maggie or Maggie looking for Negan, but still, the base of the story is that they run into each other. And The Ones Who Live is, of course, Michonne looking for Rick, and she ends up at the CRM. So if they do this for like a fourth time, right? If they just have this whole story of one character being lost and then the other character running into them or looking for them, I personally think that's kind of lazy, right? I mean, I wish that this spin-off would have been a Commonwealth spin-off, right? I mean, I just want to see just the characters being in one place and explaining and expanding that finale of season 11, but it does seem like that, this is going to be the story again, right? Probably Gabriel ends up in Australia or Aaron ends up in Australia, and then the other person has to go look for him. So I'm not too sure what they're really going to do with the story, but because they're in Australia, I have a feeling that this is going to be the story that they're going to go for, right? It's going to be an expansion of that flashback scene in The Ones Who Live. Gabriel's going to wound up in Australia, right? I'm not sure how will he get there. Maybe it's the CRM, like how I mentioned before, and then Aaron has to go looking for him. But they could definitely do something very interesting with this story, right? I mean, the story doesn't have to be one character looking for the other character. It could be incorporated into the Commonwealth story, right? Probably Eugene gets some sort of contact with somebody in Australia, and maybe Australia is one of the countries that are untouched, right? Because it's basically an island. So it's definitely possible that Australia is one of the places that does not have the Walker virus, or they were able to control it on time. And maybe they think that Australia is the perfect place to move the inhabitants of the Commonwealth. And of course, Aaron being a person that used to recruit people, right? I mean, he would be an expert at this, right? An expert at talking to the people of Australia, and also Gabriel as well. He has a big part in that sort of thing. So I think that maybe they might incorporate something about showing the normal world, so to speak, right? Having a whole country that's not affected by the Walker virus. But who knows? But I just hope that this story is interesting, and I hope that it expands the Walking Dead universe even further, and I hope that it makes Gabriel and Aaron more than side characters and makes them part of the A-listers, and I hope that this paves the way for more spin-offs for other side characters in the Walking Dead universe. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And like how I mentioned before, I would like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.